I have been together for nearly 4 years. She moved to the city during our junior year of high school, and we quickly became fast friends. I have never connected with someone as deeply as I did with her. We said our I love six. On the second day we spent together, the first 2 years were the two most incredible years of my life. We went on to university together. We literally spent almost every single day together. Hillary was everything I could have ever asked for. And I thought she was the one I felt lucky to have someone like her the first 2 years. She would always bring up marriage and kids and things like that. I was all in. We knew we wanted to go to the same college. She was going to take a teaching degree and I was going to tackle engineering, but time came for me to take my diploma exam, and I didn't get the grade I needed in order to get into engineering. Then things sort of just changed for me. It's like my whole future collapsed. I watched as my dreams of becoming an engineer shattered before my eyes. The disappointment and frustration weighed heavily on me, casting a dark shadow over everything. As my friends celebrated of their successes and made plans for the future, I felt like I was standing still, frozen in time. Hilary noticed the change in me, the way I retreated into myself and became distant. At first, she tried to cheer me up, reminding me that there were other paths to take, other dreams pursue. But I couldn't shake off the sense of failure that clung to me like a heavy cloak. I felt like a failure. From there, a couple of buddies of mine urged me to go into geological sciences. It was something that I had an interest in but never really thought of how I could make a career out of it, as it was always just a hobby, but decided to give it a shot. The only catch was the college that the program was in a different city altogether, and about a 12-hour drive from the college that Hilary had been accepted to for her teaching degree. I applied to the program without telling her, yeah, I know bad boyfriend, but I knew that she tried to talk me out of it, and I just had already felt low for not getting into the engineering program that I had planned on. I ended up getting accepted into the program, but the excitement of getting accepted quickly turned into dread because I still hadn't told her of what my new plan was. How could I be so selfish to choose my own path over Hilary's and potentially risk our relationship? In the process, I ended up sitting her down and mustering up the courage to break the news to her. She didn't say much, just nodded as if processing the information. Then she said that she's already been accepted to the college we had originally planned to go together, and she wasn't going to walk away from that. I encouraged her not to. She was mad, upset, disappointed, all of it, but she said that she didn't want to hold me back. I said that we would talk, text, video chat every day if we needed. I said I'd come back for all the big holidays and for the fall and spring breaks when I was in school. The long distance combined with school and work started to put a serious strain on me, and I knew it had put a strain on our relationship soon enough. In hindsight, it may have been foolish, but I made the decision to prioritize her above all else. She became the most important thing in my life. I felt like a butt for leaving her, and the biggest loser for moving away from all of my friends and family. I ended up doing really bad that year because I'd SK up class, just a video chat with her. I'd stay up late talking to her and lose focus, skip out on assignments, and I ended up on academic probation. I considered dropping out, but my family insisted I stick it out. I ended up being really depressed. She seemed to be flourishing and doing really well. She said she missed me, but she said that she wasn't going anywhere and that it was only temporary. She said we were doing this for our future. So that's what kept me going. She basically gave me some tough love, and I sort of snapped out of it. There were weekends that she had said she planned to come out to see me, but then she'd back out last minute. She said an assignment came up or she wanted to spend the weekend studying, and so I didn't want to take her away from that. I just looked at this more so as business. I had a job to do, and she had a job to do. We were building our future together. I came back for Christmas and hardly saw her. I chalked it up to the fact that Christmas is a busy time of year, and we both had family to see and visit, and everyone sort of wanted a piece of me while I was finally in town, except for my own girlfriend. Then spring break came around. She kept telling me how excited she was to see me and all the things she had planned, but then I came back, and she said that she was super sick. I went to drop off some homemade soup and sandwiches one night, but it was a quick, because she said she didn't want to get me sick. I was bummed. When I went back to school, I worked my butt off trying to better myself so that I was going into my second year on the right foot. I ended up finding my groove, and finally it was summer break, and I had come back home. Although I was unhappy and struggling with depression, I never let it show. I took responsibility for my emotions and tried my best to make her happy. Our once thriving relationship had changed, but I attributed it to a settling to a routine. And the end of the honeymoon phase, suddenly she began expressing her strong opposition to having children, even though I had never brought up the topic and still didn't want kids. This was also when she casually mentioned that she could live without getting married, a warning sign that I overlooked, but despite these hints, I chose to ignore them. Suddenly I thought, okay, maybe I don't want to get married, and maybe I don't want to be a dad. I was willing to put all of that aside for her during this time. I came close to landing a dream job quite a few times, but always came up just short, and each time I would sense her respect for me dwindling. It was an internship that would have gotten my foot in the door. I told myself to stop being IR rational and paranoid, and again ignored something that should have been a red flag. That brings us to our last year together. When we first started dating, we had sex pretty much all the time. Like we'd skip class to go and do the deed. We both have high sex drives, and it was amazing. But this past year we had sex a grand total of 3 times. I mean, granted I wasn't around, but still while I was away, she talked about what she'd do to me when I got back, as if she was going to jump my bones the first chance she got. But it wasn't like that at all. And each time it was her doing me a favour, I had basically begged her. Despite constantly asking, she always responded with, "I don't feel attractive." However, I honoured her wishes and remained by her side. Because my love for her was too strong during this time, my relationship with all my friends deteriorated a bit, mostly because I was struggling with being away, trying to balance school, and maintain my relationship with her. And I was battling depression real bad. And during this time, I will say she was working hard and really taking care of herself. She lost some weight, and she was looking particularly delicious. She started regularly going to the gym and quickly lost a significant amount of weight physically. She was almost unrecognizable, and her personality seemed to change as well. She became emotionally distant from me, no longer displaying the neediness and clinginess that characterized our relationship. Before, even when she showed me affection, it felt forced and insincere. I tried talking to her about it multiple times, but she always reassured me that everything was fine. I convinced myself that I was overthinking things and that my insecurities were getting the best of me. Thanks to reading too many similar stories on Reddit, being around her became unbearable, yet I couldn't bring myself to end things, in case it was all in my head. I desperately wanted concrete proof of what I was feeling. Well, one day I had enough, and I told her that it doesn't even feel like we're in a relationship anymore. We got into this huge fight. I felt like I was talking to a stranger, someone I once knew so intimately, but now couldn't recognize. Hillary said that it was all in my head and that everything was fine. She said she was just working hard towards our future and that I needed to trust her. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. It was as if a dark cloud had settled over our relationship, casting a shadow on everything we once had. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was slipping away from me. She said I just needed to focus on me and stay on track. She said everything was fine. Then she suggested that we go to Mexico for spring break. She said it would be a perfect place to let loose and just relax and spend some intimate time together. I quickly jumped at the idea, and we both spent the night excited, invigorated, looking at all-inclusive packages. We eventually found one that worked for the both of us, and we were going to meet each other there. Well, a few days before we were supposed to leave, she drops this bomb saying that she can't go anymore. Hillary told me that she had to work on an important project and couldn't take the time off to go on the trip. I was disappointed. I sort of flipped out, but she then got mad at me, saying that she was doing this for us and that I needed to be more understanding. I said she was leaving me with this big bill now that she would have split between the two of us. And not only that, but this trip was supposed to save our relationship, that it didn't even feel like she was putting first anymore. Then she said that to pressure her into coming with me, but I couldn't help but feel like I had been sacrificing my own happiness and well-being for the sake of our relationship, only to be met with accusations of not being supportive enough. It felt like a slap in the face. She said that I should still go on the trip and that she will call me every night and we can video chat. She said that the trip would be good for me to cut back and relax and get my mind off of school. I ultimately went to Mexico by myself. On the nights that we were supposed to video chat, she says she had to turn in early, so we only talked for about 20 minutes at a time. Well, one night she said goodnight, and we said her goodbyes, and then I'm scrolling through Instagram and I watch a mutual friend of ours story, and she's at a bar taking shots, and Hillary's with her. I'm like, maybe this is an old video and her friend is just posting this now. Then I go on to Messenger and it says that Hillary was active 30 minutes ago. Well, she said she was going to bed 2 hours ago, so what is she doing? Still up. Then I go on to Snapchat, but Hillary has turned off her live location. Usually she shares her location, but I've never really had to use it. Okay, then I go back to Instagram and I message our friend, and I ask what bar that is. She responds and says it's a certain bar, and she sends a photo of a drink in her hand. So I know it's live, I know she's there right now, and I know Hillary is there. I text Hillary and I say, I thought you were sleeping, then try to go back and see the story again, but her friend has deleted it. Well, now I'm fuming. Hillary doesn't respond. I try to go to sleep, but I can't. It's still early, and there's a bar down by the beach that's still open. So I get dressed and go down for some drinks. I ended up meeting some people there, and there's an attractive woman there who's pretty flirty with me. Heidi, we end up drinking together, and she asked me to come back to her room. She rubs my leg. I put my hand down to sort of stop her from going any further, and I say that I'm super flattered, but I'm seeing somebody. She apologizes. She says she didn't know, and she totally respects that we end up adding each other on in Instagram and it being totally harmless. And I added a few more of the group of people there that she's with as well. We all end up hanging out a bit, and I actually really enjoyed myself. I spent the rest of the vacation with that group anyways. She doesn't respond to my text, and the next morning I send another, and I sent a bunch of question marks then. About 2 hours later she responds and says, oh, sorry. She went out with Trish, who is our mutual friend, and she says Trish needed to get out, and asked me last minute. She said Trish needed a friend. I was like, why did you lie? She said she didn't lie, she just didn't feel the need to text me because she thought I'd be sleeping. And then I say, why did she think I was sleeping? Because I'm here all alone, and you think I'm a loser. And she said, who? Where did that come from? And I say, I didn't go to bed either. I went to a bar myself that night and met some cool people. Then I guess there's a photo that I was tagged in, and Heidi's arm was around me in the photo, but there was a group of us in it. So then she forwards me that photo an hour later, and she says, cool people, huh? And I read it and don't respond that night. I have a buddy of mine text me and tell me that she was at the bar with Trish and Hill, and that Hill was seen with another guy, and I say, what guy? And then she sends me a text of Hill sitting on some randoms, lap my buddy, then sends another, and it's of this guy kissing her neck. Then he sends another, and they're dancing, but basically on top of each other. Well, then I'm in Mexico all by myself, and find out my girlfriend is cheating on me. My buddy texts me and says that he's sorry. And then I'm like, don't be sorry. And I send a screenshot of the woman who tried to get with me the night before. Then he says, you know what I would do? And I did. I did know what my friend would do. So I went into Instagram and messaged Heidi and asked her out for dinner. We end up going for this lovely dinner. And sitting at this poolside bar, we get to know each other. And she asked me, what happened to what I said earlier? And I said earlier, and she said, you're seeing somebody. And I said, yeah, forget I ever said that. I then go on to tell her basically my life story. And I show her those photos of Hill with some random guy. Heidi then says that her offer still stands. Did I take her up on that offer? Hell yeah, I did. She even grabs my phone and took a selfie of her mouth on a certain part of my anatomy. And I'll let you guess which one. Let's just say I came to Mexico to feel relaxed and to get my mind off of school, and my mind was definitely not on school. Later that night, we put those pictures of Hill and her new guy on my social stories and said Miss Hillary is a cheater who will be teaching the next generations. Do you want her teaching your future kids? Then she texts me and says, "How could you do this? What are you thinking? You're out of your mind." All that jazz. She said, "How could you treat your girlfriend like this?" I said, "Girlfriend, I'm single. I can do whatever I want in paradise." Then I sent her the photo of Heidi making me feel good and tell her I'm doing this for my future. Well, looks like Hillary wasn't just studying. She was taking extracurricular activities too, as they say, when life gives you lemons. Trade them for a shot of something stronger and let the good times roll. Lesson well learned. Never underestimate the power of a tropical getaway to clarify your relationship status. At least you got to discover the crumbling ruins of your relationship against the backdrop of a picturesque paradise. And cheers to that buddy of yours who has your back. It may feel like a solitary journey, navigating through the chaos of betrayal and heartache and depression, but having that one friend who sees through the storm and throws you a lifeline and saves you from a red flag. That's true friendship. Update, one quick update. I came back from Mexico to find out that Hill has an OnlyFans account. Another buddy of mine screenshots her account and sent it to me. And it's definitely her guess. She's been real busy since I've been away for school. I sent the screenshots to her family and friends, and by this point, I don't even care. Then it comes out that Hill wasn't even going to school. She dropped out in the first semester because she had failed some classes, but had managed to pretend like she was going. She was actually just creating a following. On OnlyFans, she took on this persona of Miss Hill update too. Back again, Hillary's actions had broader implications for her family's reputation and social standing within her community. See, her father was actually a man of pretty big importance and ended up losing some pretty big clients. Her father's reputation took a hit that even he couldn't recover from. They went through so much strain that her parents ended up getting divorced and her dad moved out of town. I'm not sure where he ended up, I never asked, but I talk to Hill's sister still from time to time. I guess their mum isn't talking to Hill, she's not allowed home, and she's been working at some Dollar Tree, but her OnlyFans isn't active anymore. Hill and her family are totally disgraced. They've lost everything. I feel bad for her sister. Meanwhile, I'm finishing up school, and I feel like I'm in a really good place. I finally got my head out of my butt and met some new people here. It's starting to feel like home, and I even talked to Heidi a bit here and there, and she's planning on coming out to see me next month. We're not putting any expectations in it. We're friends. She's cool, and we're just having fun for the first time in, well, ever. I don't regret moving here and doing something for myself. I guess not getting into engineering turned out to be one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. Life's weird looks like Miss Hill found her calling in the digital age who knew failing classes could be a career move. On the bright side, at least her OnlyFans wasn't titled Missed Opportunities. But hey, while Hill's dealing with that fallout and stirring the pot, you're busy acing life's exams and making new connections. Who knew the School of Hard Knocks could lead to such a bright future? It just goes to show that even when the path ahead seems uncertain, there's always a silver lining waiting to be discovered. What do you make of this? Thank you for joining us.